Hi, welcome to the Dark Cosmos. I'm Kira and I'll be narrating today's story. Hope you enjoy. This was never our world. This was never our planet. Man had succeeded in colonizing Mars. We had brought our technology into this new world, and we were advancing at a rapid rate. Everything was moving so fast. The last few years have witnessed a massive revolution of technology on the Earth. Teleportation and artificial intelligence technology has become a thing of the past, and I had just received news this morning that my boss, Dr. Carter, had just succeeded in building the first ever time travel device. It was linked to a spaceship that could travel to and in time. This groundbreaking discovery will completely change the course of science relating to physics, time, and cosmology. This changes everything, and our definition of the past, present, and future will need to be reviewed. Dr. Carter had always made a statement about this concept of time. Time is a constant that spins on eternity's watch, she had once said. I would, however, confess that even though I am proud of being a part of the team to birth such a historic discovery, I do, however, feel the evils that this device would attract. I am still trying to wrap my head around the concept of time travel, despite several classes from Dr. Carter herself. It was a world of knowledge and theories, which many still see as thousands of years beyond our level of advancement. But Dr. Carter had managed to break the bonds of time, both literally and figuratively. "Kathy, briefing in 5!" A familiar voice echoed behind me. I nodded in understanding, cleared my table, and stormed out of my bunker. I had awoken not long ago, and I had been waiting for Dr. Carter's lecture and plans. Everyone was rooting to hear what Dr. Carter had in mind for her new toy. As I stormed out of my room, I could see a few men sprinting towards the main lab at a distance. People rarely ran over here. There was usually no reason to. The shocking part of Dr. Carter's discovery was her secret ingredient, as she often called it. It was here, on Mars. Ever since we came to Mars, the speed of advancement in our technology has doubled over the past decade. There was a heavily guarded secret, known only by the highest echelon of scientists present on the mission. The missing puzzle piece to all of the Earth's previous discoveries. A few years ago, we could only dream about teleportation. It seemed like an impossible feat, but we had proven that nothing is impossible in the world of science. Just as a crusader in the medieval age would have seen the rise of the internet and mobile phones as impossible, that's how we viewed the possibility of the invention of teleportation. That I could travel long distances at the snap of a finger, and although teleportation is bound by several rules, it has become a norm in recent years. But then, when we all thought that we had seen enough, Dr. Carter had proven us all wrong. She had just invented a time travel machine. When I reached the lab, I noticed that the men who had just stormed into the lab were mumbling a few words to Dr. Carter. She seemed to be surprisingly engrossed in whatever they were saying. My curiosity flared. I needed to know. "What's going on, Max?" Max was my colleague. He also stood amongst the crowd, listening attentively to every word. He ignored my question. "Max, come on. What's all the ruckus about?" I was intent on finding out.
"They say they saw signs of life along the Northwest Valley. Something about a cadaver?"
"Cadaver?" I whispered. "But humans were only allowed entry into Mars last week, and no deaths have been recorded yet."
"That's the weird part, Kathy,"
Maxwell replied.
"They say it ain't human."
"Nah, quit messing around. That's not possible." I struggled to believe the existence of such a disturbing fact. If this was true, this discovery could give rise to an entirely different era of research and theories. New questions and concepts of everything. This was huge, and with the invention of teleportation and time travel... Oh my god. Time travel! The realization suddenly hit me as I thought about the vast possibilities of time travel. I could bet that Dr. Carter would want to know who the first inhabitants of Mars were, and what happened to the planet. I was still lost in thought when the top echelon of scientists, led by Dr. Carter, sped out of the facility. I didn't need to be told where they were headed. I joined the train. There was very little staff employed, only the very best in each field. The knowledge of the construction of a time machine was a heavily guarded secret, only revealed to a few of us, and even the outside world was oblivious to the presence of such an advanced device. As we glided inside our mini space pods towards the site of the discovery, I could not help but imagine a truth of such relevance in the fabric of time and reality, and I was also a part of the discovery of these huge markers in the timelines of history. We soon arrived at the site, and after several investigations, we discovered that they were right. Something else had walked in this planet, centuries before us, and it was definitely not human. Dr. Carter was silent throughout the investigation. No one knew what was going through her head, but we all had a clue. Regardless, we soon got to find out. I couldn't sleep. The night had collided with my growing curiosity, and I had lost the contest. I was crushed under the cruel whips of mixed emotions. Fear and excitement ravaged through my entire being, as thoughts of whatever adventure awaited me in the next few hours stole my sleep. I was scared of a possible malfunction of the unknown expectations that awaited us, but I could not help the excitement of traveling back into the past and exploring the unknown history of Mars. Why me? I wondered. There were so many other scientists who could have embarked on this mission, but she decided to choose me. I wasn't even sure she remembered my name, so it had come as a surprise when she called me to join her team, who were going to be the first set of scientists to test the time travel machine. I was a bit skeptical, but the only thing that assured me was Dr. Carter's confidence in her work. She was also going with us. She wanted to find out what happened to Mars, so we were journeying into the past of a strange planet to discover what secrets lay. The hour soon came with a strange anxiety. I could hear my heart pound loudly as we stepped aboard the time spaceship. Kronos. What better name than the Greek god of time himself? We braced ourselves to launch into a world of unknown possibilities, and we prepared to be named as the first men to travel back in time. Dr. Carter had made sure to take the necessary precautions before jumping on board the Kronos. I didn't bother too much about the long theories and mechanics of time travel. As long as Dr. Carter was with us, I was sure that we were all in safe hands. There was 4 of us, and we were all ready to make history. I shot a quick glance at Dr. Carter just before we launched back into the past. Her eyes shone with childlike wonder. She was eager to see what her discovery could achieve, and the many secrets which the past held. She was the only one amongst us all who didn't have any tint of fear. We strapped on our spacesuits and prepared for the journey into the unknown. Dr. Carter had used the alien remains as a time compass. "Who is ready to make history?" Dr. Carter said calmly. We all smiled eagerly. Those were the last words that were said in the present. In a flash, Kronos took off. As we traveled across thousands of specters of light, everything seemed to blur around us. Kronos seemed to be the only thing protecting us from tearing into 1,000 expressions of sound and light. My sight began to dim, and I began to feel nauseated. I attempted to fight off the feeling, but I couldn't. Next came darkness. "Kathy! Kathy!" I could hear calm whispers of my name. "Kathy!" This time, it came with a certain urgency. My eyes shot open. I rose to my feet, struggling to achieve balance. I scanned around the new environment, and my eyes were instantly welcomed by a terrifying sight. "Where the hell is this place?" I asked, perplexed, and slowly turned to Dr. Carter. "I made a mistake." Those were not the words I wanted to hear, but I instantly knew we were in trouble. "I should not have used the remains of that creature as a time compass," Dr. Carter whispered. "It took us back to the exact time when that creature had died." It seemed as though the creature had died right in the worst possible time. We had arrived on Mars in the middle of some war. I could not call it a war anyway. It was a massacre. Whoever or whatever waged war on the inhabitants of Mars was much more advanced in technology and might. They burnt down everything that crawled to ashes, and we could hear the loud cries of the Martians from a distance. Mars was boiling hot. Everything seemed to be going down in flames, and so we couldn't picture a pre-war era. Whatever battle was being fought had been going on for a very long time. The very core of Mars was destroyed. like it had been poisoned with some sort of substance. We had no idea who the invaders were, and we were certainly not willing to stick around to find out either. They looked terrifying enough from a distance, and that was enough warning for us. "We need to get out of here now," I let out in terror. I shot a quick glance at our ship. The engineer seemed to be fixing something. "We crashed into a small debris. It's not major damage and he should be done soon." The strange calmness in Dr. Carter's voice was beginning to make me feel more uneasy. She seemed to be more engrossed in the heated clash and chaos in the distance than she was about us returning to the present in one piece, and perhaps correcting her error. "I don't think we have a soon," I let out in frustration. I had just finished speaking when a loud bang erupted very close to our location. I swallowed hard as I did a double take at the engineer, who was still fixing the ship. Our gazes met, and for all our sakes, we hoped that it was just an explosion. Fate frowned on us as a massive, otherworldly creature sprung out of the dark soil and lunged towards us. It looked neither like the inhabitants of the planet nor the invaders. The creature had spikes all over its body, and it was covered in red dust. Dr. Carter gazed in awe at the humongous beast. There was certainly no way 4 scientists were going to bring down such a massive creature. It looked like a small dragon without legs. "It's headed for the Kronos! That's our only ticket out of here!" I screamed. "We need a distraction!" Everyone scampered away from the creature, shifting its focus away from the ship. The creature moved at an unbelievable speed, and we knew it was just a matter of time before it had one of us in its grasp. As the screams of one of ours echoed through the region, drawing a lot of attention towards our location, I knew that we had to leave immediately, or we may never make it out. The invaders also heard the cry, as a few of them now rushed towards our direction. A strange feeling suddenly strolled across my mind. These mighty invaders were never meant to be aware of our existence. But what if we had just upset the flow of time by creating a memory of beings such as humans? Perhaps they would now have a memory of us in the present. I shrugged off the dreadful thought as I shifted my gaze towards Kronos. Dr. Carter had crept into the ship, oblivious to the engineer, and she was already preparing to leave us behind. The strange creature now charged towards me as I sprinted towards our time-traveling ship. I was not far from the ship, and I jumped aboard just before Dr. Carter launched Kronos and darted back into the specter of light, despite my constant pleas. "How could you leave them behind?" I stared at Dr. Carter with rage. "Every discovery comes with a great price." Those were Dr. Carter's last words as we pierced through time back into the present. Repairs had not been completed before our launch, and I prayed underneath my breath that we were going to make it back in one piece, as sparks erupted at every corner of the spaceship. We made it back with a massive explosion, destroying Dr. Carter's life's work in the process. Her time machine shattered as we emerged in our present. Even though Dr. Carter knew her mistake, the time travel device was destroyed, and I would definitely not be looking forward to another time travel experience. I needed some rest after that chaotic event. We had lost 2 good scientists on this mission, and it would be a long time before Dr. Carter would be allowed to experiment with further projects. Or probably not. I remember the last words she said to me as we returned to the present. I knew that it wouldn't be long before she began messing around with time travel again.